The way you know someone's going to stay middle class is when they have two very nice cars that are obvious $500, $600, $700 payments sitting in front of a middle class house.
The middle class is vanishing before our eyes. In 1971, 61% of Americans were middle class. Today, just 50% and falling. Dave Ramsey explains why, and it's not what politicians or the media tell you. I've spent years studying why this is happening, interviewing hundreds of families moving both up and down the economic ladder. The patterns are clear. The middle class isn't disappearing because of some grand conspiracy or economic policy. It's disappearing because of everyday choices that millions of Americans make without understanding their true cost. Are you interested in learning what's really killing the middle class? If so, comment below with "I choose financial freedom." Once I see your comment, I'll give it a heart. If you'd like to support the channel, leave a like and subscribe. It takes less than a second and helps the channel reach more people who need this wake-up call. Now that you've commented and subscribed, let's dive into what Dave Ramsey teaches about the vanishing middle class. He explains that success isn't random, it follows patterns. Financial stability isn't a mystery, it follows predictable principles that, if you understand and apply them, can transform your financial destiny. But here's where most people go wrong. They focus on looking middle class instead of building actual wealth. Let me explain. There's a fundamental truth that Dave often shares. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. This behavior isn't just unwise, it's literally erasing the middle class from existence. Think about it. What do we call a new car payment? A status symbol. What do financially stable people avoid? Debt that depreciates their net worth. What do the genuinely wealthy understand that the disappearing middle class doesn't? The difference between assets and liabilities. Building wealth is about delayed gratification, and here's the kicker. No financial stability will ever come to someone addicted to immediate gratification. It's a fundamental law of economics. A family can earn $100,000 a year, but if they're spending $105,000, they're not middle class, they're poor with a good income. They may look middle class from the outside with their leased BMW and granite countertops, but their bank account tells a different story. That means your financial mindset must operate at a higher level. What do you believe about money, about success, about what you deserve right now versus what you're willing to work toward? Your beliefs about money determine whether you'll remain in the middle class or join the ranks of those sliding out of it. So, before we go deeper into the specific steps to rebuilding and securing your place in the middle class, I need to ask you something. Do you truly believe your financial situation can improve? Because if your answer is no, then everything we discuss next will be pointless. But if your answer is yes, then let's talk about how to make financial security inevitable. Step 1. Understand the power of behavior in wealth creation. Imagine you're driving down the highway in a brand new $60,000 luxury SUV. The leather seats feel amazing, the premium sound system is crystal clear, and heads turn as you drive by. You feel successful. You feel like you've made it to the middle class. But here's the truth. That car isn't owned by you. It's owned by the bank. Those $600 monthly payments aren't building your wealth. They're draining it. And what's more, the moment you drove that vehicle off the lot, it lost 20 to 30% of its value. That's not an asset. It's a liability disguised as success. Now, why is that important? Because the middle class is disappearing largely because of consumer behavior, not economic policy. It's a high debt result, and if you want to stay in or return to the middle class, you need to understand how everyday decisions either build or destroy wealth. But ask yourself, what kind of financial decisions are you making? Are you the kind of person who saves and invests first, then spends what's left? Or are you spending first and hoping there's something left to save? Do you know the difference between assets and liabilities? Or are you filling your life with things that look valuable but actually make you poorer every day? Next time someone asks about your financial goals, stop saying, "I want to look successful." You think these luxury items make you middle class? They don't. They're the very things pulling people out of the middle class. Think about what Dave Ramsey teaches about the truly wealthy. They don't finance furniture, they don't lease vehicles, and they don't carry credit card balances. When they speak about their finances, do they brag about their credit score? No. They talk about their net worth, their investments, and their peace of mind. So, here's the first wealth principle from Dave Ramsey. Your behavior, not your income, determines your financial class. The middle class is disappearing because too many people with good incomes have poor money habits. No one stays in the middle class by accident. They stay there by making intentional decisions that build wealth over time. The difference between those rising from the middle class and those falling from it isn't luck or even income, it's behavior. It's understanding that in today's economy, you must live below your means, not at your means. This means rejecting the cultural pressures to finance a lifestyle you can't afford. Think about it. Most people buy things they can't afford, with money they don't have, to impress people who don't care. That's not just a bad financial strategy. It's the exact behavior destroying the middle class. Consider these shocking statistics. 78% of American workers live paycheck to paycheck, including 10% of those earning over $100,000 per year. The average household carries $6,270 in credit card debt. 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money. These aren't signs of a strong middle class. They're symptoms of a middle class that's sacrificing financial security for the appearance of wealth. Dave Ramsey often points out that we're being conditioned by thousands of advertisements daily to want more, to buy now, to finance everything. The disappearing middle class isn't just making poor choices. They're making choices in an environment deliberately designed to separate them from their money. But here's the good news. You can choose differently. You can reject consumer culture and embrace financial responsibility. You can prioritize financial peace over financial appearances. This single shift in behavior is often the difference between climbing into wealth and sliding into financial insecurity. Step 2. Wealth is built through margin, not more income. Let me ask you a question that might shatter your perception. Is a family making $150,000 a year middle class? The answer? It depends. Let me give you 2 examples. Family A makes $150,000 a year, but spends $155,000 annually. They have 2 car payments totaling $1,200 monthly, a large mortgage that consumes 40% of their income, financed furniture, and $23,000 in credit card debt. They're one missed paycheck away from financial disaster. Family B makes $70,000 a year, but spends only $55,000. They drive paid-for cars, have a modest mortgage that's on track to be paid off early, and invest 15% of their income for retirement. They have a 6-month emergency fund and no consumer debt. Who's more financially secure? Most people assume Family A is better off because they make more money, but Dave Ramsey would tell you Family B is actually wealthier. If both families lost their income tomorrow, which one would survive longer? Which one is truly middle class? In America, we've confused income with wealth. The middle class isn't disappearing because people aren't earning enough. It's disappearing because people aren't keeping enough of what they earn. Middle-class financial security isn't just about how much money you make. It's about the gap between what you make and what you spend. Think about what Dave Ramsey calls the 4 walls: food, shelter, basic clothing, and transportation. Those who maintain their place in the middle class ensure these needs are met first, and in reasonable proportion to their income. On the other hand, many who fall from the middle class prioritize wants: designer clothes, luxury cars, lavish vacations, and finance them at the expense of their 4 walls. This is why many people with 6-figure incomes are actually broke. They earn plenty, but they spend even more. The real question you should ask yourself isn't, how can I increase my income? Instead, ask, how can I increase my margin? How can I create a bigger gap between what I earn and what I spend? How can I reject the consumer culture that's eroding the middle class? Because if you don't control your spending, you don't control your financial future. And if you don't control your financial future, then you're destined to join the millions sliding out of the middle class. Dave Ramsey often shares that when he counsels families who make $300,000 or more per year but are still struggling financially, the problem is never that they don't make enough money. The problem is that their lifestyle has expanded to consume every dollar they make, and then some. They don't have an income crisis, but a spending problem. Consider this. The average millionaire drives a car that's at least 2 years old. They spend less than 25% of their income on housing. They save and invest consistently before splurging on luxuries. These behaviors aren't glamorous, and they certainly don't make for exciting social media posts. But they're the very behaviors that build and maintain wealth. The math is simple but profound. If you consistently save and invest 15% of your income while avoiding consumer debt, you will build wealth over time regardless of your income level. This is how the middle class transforms into the wealthy class. Not through spectacular incomes, but through spectacular saving habits. Step 3. Understand debt's role in the disappearance of the middle class. Dave Ramsey identifies debt as perhaps the single biggest factor in the erosion of middle-class financial security. The numbers are staggering. The average American has $90,460 in consumer debt. The average household with credit card debt owes $16,045. The average auto loan for a new car is $32,480 with a payment of $568 per month. The average student loan balance is $38,792. Each of these debts represents a claim on future income that could otherwise be saved and invested to build wealth. When you're making payments on yesterday's purchases, you can't build for tomorrow's security. The middle class is disappearing because they've been sold the lie that debt is a tool. It's not a tool, it's a trap. And it's a trap that millions of Americans who thought they were middle class are discovering too late. Dave often shares that debt is the only product marketed by convincing you it will make you wealthy. Credit card companies tell you about reward points. Car dealers focus on the monthly payment, not the total cost. Student loan providers promise future earnings that will make the debt worthwhile. In reality, these debts are transferring wealth from the middle class to the financial institutions. Think about the freedom that comes with having no payments except your mortgage, which should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay. The average American spends 24% of their income on non-mortgage debt payments. Imagine if that 24% was instead going toward building wealth. How quickly would your financial picture change? When Dave Ramsey tells people to cut up their credit cards, he's not just giving shock value advice. He's addressing one of the primary reasons the middle class is evaporating. Studies consistently show that people spend 12 to 18% more when using credit cards versus cash. The emotional disconnect between spending and paying is costing the middle class their financial future. The disappearing middle class has accepted debt as normal, but debt is not normal. It's a relatively recent phenomenon in human history. Your grandparents likely didn't have car payments or credit card debt. They saved up and purchased things when they could afford them. This simple behavior pattern is what built middle-class wealth for generations. What we're seeing today is the first generation to fully embrace consumer debt throughout their lifetime, and the results are devastating the middle class. Financial stress, delayed retirement, relationship strain. These are the real costs of the debt-fueled lifestyle that's become normalized. Step 4. The emergency fund is your protection. One of Dave Ramsey's most powerful insights is understanding that life happens to everyone. Cars break down, roofs leak, people get sick. The difference between those who weather these storms and those who are financially devastated by them is preparation. The disappearing middle class often lives so close to the financial edge that a $1,000 emergency becomes a financial catastrophe. In fact, 56% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency expense from savings. That's not a middle class. That's a class in financial peril. Dave's solution is simple but powerful. Build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. This isn't just about financial security. It's about breaking the cycle of debt that pulls people out of the middle class. When you have cash set aside for emergencies, you don't need to reach for credit cards or loans when life happens. Think about 2020. While many families were financially devastated by the pandemic, others weathered the storm because they had emergency funds in place. This wasn't luck. It was preparation. It was the result of making tough choices years before to live below their means and set money aside just in case. The emergency fund doesn't just protect you financially. It protects you emotionally. Financial stress is cited as a leading cause of divorce, health problems, and workplace distraction. When you have a buffer between you and life's emergencies, you gain not just financial security, but peace of mind. Dave Ramsey recommends starting with a $1,000 emergency fund while paying off debt, then building it to 3 to 6 months of expenses once you're debt-free. This approach acknowledges that you can't do everything at once, but still provides a critical safety net during your financial journey. Comment with, an emergency fund is the foundation of financial security. This principle has helped millions of Dave Ramsey's followers maintain their middle-class status even through difficult times. But here's what most financial advisors get wrong about emergency funds. It's not just about the money. It's about the peace of mind that comes from knowing you can handle life's surprises without going into debt. It's about breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle that keeps so many Americans financially vulnerable. The emergency fund is so essential because it's what prevents you from sliding backward after making progress. Without it, one unexpected expense can erase months or years of financial progress. It's the moat that protects your financial castle from invasion. The math is compelling. If you have a fully funded emergency fund and no consumer debt, you're already financially ahead of 78% of Americans. You've taken the first critical steps to ensure you won't be among the disappearing middle class, regardless of your income level. Step 5. Invest early and consistently. One of Dave Ramsey's most powerful insights about the middle class is understanding that building wealth isn't about making massive financial moves. It's about consistent, disciplined investing over time. The middle class is disappearing partly because too few people understand the power of compound interest. When you invest $500 a month for 30 years with an average annual return of 10%, the historical stock market average, you end up with over $1.1 million. It's not magic, it's math. Yet only 55% of Americans own any stocks at all, including through retirement accounts. This means nearly half the country isn't participating in one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available. The middle class isn't just failing to save enough. Many aren't saving at all. Dave recommends investing 15% of your household income for retirement, but only after you're debt-free except for your house and have your emergency fund in place. This sequencing is crucial because it ensures you're investing from a position of financial strength, not vulnerability. Let me give you a concrete example. 2 people each invest $5,000 per year. Person A starts at age 25 and invests for 10 years, then stops. $50,000 total investment. Person B waits until age 35 and invests $5,000 every year for 30 years. $150,000 total investment. At age 65, Person A has more money than Person B, despite investing $100,000 less. This isn't theory, it's the mathematical reality of compound interest. The middle class is disappearing in part because retirement planning has shifted from company pensions to individual responsibility, but too many people haven't adjusted their behavior to this new reality. The average 401k balance for Americans in their 60s is just $195,500, nowhere near enough to maintain a middle-class lifestyle in retirement. Dave Ramsey's investment approach isn't complicated. He recommends simple, low-cost index funds and mutual funds spread across 4 categories: growth, and income, aggressive growth, and international. This straightforward approach is accessible to anyone with a basic understanding of investing. The question isn't whether you should invest. It's whether you'll start soon enough to capture the full power of compound growth. Most Americans who fall out of the middle class in retirement do so not because they made bad investments, but because they started too late or invested too little. So here's your challenge today. Stop focusing on looking middle class and start building actual wealth. Stop financing a lifestyle you can't afford and start creating margin in your budget that allows you to save and invest. When you adopt behaviors that build wealth, reject debt as a lifestyle, build emergency savings, and invest consistently, you're not just surviving the disappearance of the middle class. You're positioning yourself to join those who are moving up, not down. The economic reality will continue whether you prepare for it or not. The only question is, will you be among those sliding out of the middle class, or will you be among those building real financial security? The choice, as Dave Ramsey would say, is entirely yours. But remember this, your income is your most powerful wealth-building tool. If you waste it on payments, you're sabotaging your own financial future. Remember, the disappearance of the middle class isn't inevitable for you and your family. The principles are clear for those willing to apply them. The path to financial security exists for those prepared to walk it. The only question is, will you take the first step today?